It's time to get real about shit and have some hard conversations and rip apart topics to make sure we advocate for every angle of that topic. Welcome to The Devil's Advocate, brought to you by Indie Volt. Give your fandom a recharge, and hosted by the uncanny indie devil, Mr. Anderson. Follow all the comics devil's tales at MrAnderson.com.
Original music by Unicorn Heads for the YouTube audio library. This music is free for you to use on YouTube videos. Find the music in YouTube audio library in the Creator Studio. Search Unicorn Heads.
And now on to the topic. The opinions expressed in the following broadcast are not necessarily those of Indie Volt Media LLC, its staff, contributors, or sponsors. Viewer discretion is advised. Subscribe to IndieVolt.com to recharge your fandom and to get an education. Be sure to check out all of the Indie Volt programming on the Nines with hosts like Randy Zimmerman, The Kid, Varian Grant, The Indie Princess, with more hosts and shows to come. And tonight you're joining us for Blatant IP Theft. Why do creators feel so effing entitled? We're going to play the warning just one more time so everyone gets the idea, because clearly, due to certain recent circumstances that we're not going to go into on this show, the warning needs to be shown twice. So for those in the cheap seats, the opinions expressed in the following broadcast are not necessarily those of Indie Volt Media LLC, its staff, contributors, or sponsors. Viewer discretion is advised. And that sound also means that the doors are open. Anyone is allowed in for this. This is going to be a hectic one. If you guys want to be represented with your questions, if you're on the radio especially and you want us to talk about something you want, I will be monitoring it. We have an email for just this occasion. If you want to have a question brought up on the show, please send us an email at theindiedevil@gmail.com. That's the THE, indie, INDEE, because why would there be two I's in indie? And devil, DEVIL, @gmail.com. You guys can send us any question you want. As long as it's civil, we'll read it on air and we'll talk to you guys about it. And if you want to send something hurtful to me, I like a good laugh, so feel free. All right, so I am here by myself so far. A few other people are going to be coming in and joining us in a few minutes. I do want to start out, though, with some house cleaning things for this one. We're not going to be talking about fan art. We're going to be talking about IPs. Fan art, I've done that topic to death. I have no interest in revisiting fan art. So for right now, we're not going to be talking about that. We are also rated LVMA all. That's live video, mature audience all, meaning fantasy, sex, language, violence, violent fantasies. I don't know why they have it as FV. It should be VF. And O for oh shit, things are going to get serious. So you're gonna see a lot of stuff going on today. So we already got a comment. The indeed evil. I'll take that. I don't mind that, Steve. I can be a little evil at times. One of the worst evils we have, though, is IP theft. So what are we defining as IP theft for the show? Well, it's pretty easy. Recently on Kickstarter, we have seen a lot of uptick in people, and I had said this when we had discussed fan art a year ago, that there was a lot of an uptick on people suddenly showing up to do fan art, and that could lead to people just stealing from other areas of entertainment and making their own comic books. And just this year, we've begun to see an influx of actual comic books. Star Wars happened to be one. Yes, someone just took Star Wars and decided to make their own Kickstarter about it. And then, to my chagrin, another person did it right behind him. You go on, you look at the enamel pins. It's disgusting. You look at these books that they're making, even sexual content books with Disney princesses. It is insanity how far this has gone. It is disturbing, and it is not something that we want to see. By the way, we are live on the Indie Vault Network, which you guys know. We're live on the radio station. We're live on the Comic Book Advocates Network, and we're also live on Geek Insider. So thank you all for showing up and tuning in. If you're curious who I am, let me roll my intro while we make time for the guests to get here. So this is me explaining.
Mr. Anderson is the unboxable advocating creator known as the devilish comics creator who will tempt you with his devilish tales. He creates books about fetish, monsters, and more, and offers free spanks and hugs. He also teaches morals with farts. Check out the Comics Devil by going to MrAnderson.com.
Come on, you know that's good music right there. All right, so you know who I am. You know the topic. Let's read what Kickstarter had to say when I actually told them about a blatant copyright ripoff. Here we go. Hello. Kickstarter has adopted a general policy regarding copyright in accordance with the Digital Millennial Copyright Act of 1988. Kickstarter removes materials that is the subject of a complaint DMCA takedown notice. Section 512 of the DMCA provides the rules for reporting copyright infringement and fulfilling counter notification. If you believe your copyright is being infringed, you report the alleged violation right there. For information on the process, right there. And I'm not going to share those with you guys. Just look up Kickstarter. So basically, the idea is this: if it's not your IP, you don't get to have a say in anything about it. And I'll say it right now on record. Mason and me went head to head about the fan art aspect of it. And one of the comments he had made was that it was entirely on the copyright holder, which I disagreed with at the time. It turns out Mason was completely right. And don't mind me, I'm just sending out some invites for some people to join us. Don't mind me looking down. He was right, and I was wrong about the fact that I thought it actually mattered that there were laws. So basically, you can watch someone break the law, and if you don't own that copyright, you can't do anything about it. It's just the legality of it. It's an imperfect system. That's just the truth of it. You can try to reach out. And in Disney's case, I actually did do the right thing. I actually reached out, sent them an email, called them up, told them what was going on. And I was given, well, thank you for that, but we don't follow up with things that are reported. I hope you understand. So, yeah, that was the reality of the situation. So now this whole talk tonight, it stems on the fact that realistically and honestly, we don't have a right to actually complain about any of this sometimes. We just don't. That's the truth of the matter. We don't have the right to complain about someone else taking IPs. It's sad, but it's true. And it's hard. It's hard to deal with that, being an IP holder, knowing that no one could do it but me. So I have to go out of my way. Someone might contact me. I'll have to then check it out and start the process 2 or 3 days later, if not later than that, depending on when they get caught for it, as opposed to someone just being able to instantly report it and having it being taken down. It's ridiculous. It's a broken system in that regard. I do think that there should be, and it could pay for itself if there was just a governing body that controlled it and actually had like just violation officers that would go around checking things out. I mean, if you could start on Kickstarter and Indiegogo, and you could enforce this. This is literally breaking the law. This whole conversation is a two-sided one. There's no way or shape or form that it is illegal. That was one thing that I know Mason was completely wrong about, that when we argued about it. It is illegal whether or not the copyright holder is actually enforcing it. The word enforcing it is the key. He was right. The IP holder does have to enforce it. But he was wrong. It's still illegal. And at any point, the IP holder can come in and actually do it. And apparently, Goror 187 says, "Hello, and you're a silver-tongued snake oil salesman, devil." Thank you. I'd sell some snake oil. Why not? Who cares, right? I mean, it's not like we have to worry about IPs. As a matter of fact, I'll steal someone else's. And I'll just do it because why not? It doesn't matter anymore, right? Society's just breaking down. We can do anything we want. Woohoo! The end of the world is here. Of course, I'm being facetious. Look, here's the reality of the situation. Just because we can't report it doesn't mean we have to accept it. So that comes down to you guys as the people who are out there buying things. And you have to start being empowered. Because understand, every time someone buys something that's forged, another person has lost their jobs. I know you want to go, oh, well, Walmart has enough money, man. Why should I care about what Walmart gets? Or why would I care about Disney getting any more money, man? Let them all suffer. They get enough money. You're forgetting how many people Walmart helps employ. Do you want to talk about their health care options, their sick time? I'm all for that. But I'm not going to ding a company that's out there doing their business because I want to somehow get back. There is no getting back at a company, at least not that way. Because what you're doing is wrong. You're actually just getting people fired. And why are you getting people fired? Well, if they're not making those things. See, here's one of the biggest arguments. We're not going to go into fan art, but this is just a simple truth. Do you know what has plummeted for comic book sales in the last, or comic book companies in the last couple of years? I looked this up and I forgot where I found it, but I did find it. When it comes to fan art, forget the legality. We're not talking about that. This is an honest truth about it. What happened was there was a plummet, mind you, of poster sales for comic books. And why was that? Because you could get them at your local Comic Con. That was a direct effect. Now, here we are with these creators going on to Kickstarter now because they can, and they're expecting people to help them make their Batman story. They don't have the right to do it. They just saw something and decided they liked it. One of the things I do want to get into a little later is the all-impressive copyright laws and how some things become free use because their copyrights expire, which is going to be, excuse me, a whole new different debate that's going to be starting in a few years because Disney's about to lose a lot of its IP power over, of all things, Mickey Mouse. So that will be an interesting conversation that's going to be hopefully brought up today, if not a little later. I am curious what you guys think. I want to get to Ralph's question before Varian will be here in just a few minutes. Well, that's messed up. What if you do not follow these platforms? How would you know? You know what? That's an interesting question. At Terraform, we were actually discussing how we wanted to handle IP theft. And I know the law now, so I said, well, unfortunately, if we as Terraform don't own a property, there's not much we can do. Even if we're publishing it, the only thing that we could actually get offended and part of is if someone was trying to print a comic book. So if someone tried to print said comic, then yeah, we could say anything we wanted to. We could get in someone's ass about it. We could be all up in someone's face about it because that's what we're under contract to do. But if Terraform itself does not own the property, then we can't even put a cease and desist on it if someone is making original content. Now, of course, IP theft can be two different things. What we're going to be focusing on today is taking an IP and using it for your own good, for your own wares. There are still people out there who are now apparently getting printers to print books, and that's becoming a mess in itself. Some creators are even absolutely terrified to put out their books in PDF form. And I'll be honest with you, when I first started this, because of places like Napster, I was a little concerned about that myself. But then I realized, honestly, this is what a lot of creators don't get. And I'm not trying to put a shade on anyone, but you get these creators who make like between $2,000 and like $8,000, and they think they're suddenly Donald Trump. They think they're some big shit person who, oh my God, look, I made a couple $1,000s. And it's just not the truth, guys. I mean, yeah, it's nice to have the book paid for. I'm not saying it's not. But your viewership, I mean, you could have what, between 150 and 300 backers? That ain't shit. You're going to need thousands of readers. Does it help? Absolutely. But we have too many Kickstarter kings out here and Indiegogo princesses. And that's not a dig on Indiegogo. I just wanted to use something with it, and Indiegogo uses pink, so it was just a color choice. But my point is that people are out there thinking that they've earned more than they have. That's one part of a step of many steps that these other bigger brands, such as Batman, such as the Disney princesses, such as Donald Duck, all those are things other people earned. Okay? They built something that you just want to take from because it's easy, and that's the truth of it. All right. Hold on. Sorry, I had to answer that. So, again, Kickstarter has that notice, and can I blame them for that? No, I don't think I can blame them for that. So we're going to open up the chat for everyone. Again, this is always a show where people are allowed on. I know this is a little bit more of a controversial topic. However, again, I don't want to focus on fan art. If possible, I would like to even stay away from it. I know people are very sensitive about it because there are a lot of artists who make a living off of fan art, and they take it as a personal dig when you call it, like I've gotten in trouble for calling fan art theft. So we're going to try to stay away from that because, again, we've had that conversation. I want to have this different conversation. And it was hard to find people, honestly. Despite seeing it so much, a lot of people don't want to have this conversation. A lot of people don't even want to talk about this on these this show because it's just awkward. Like, why would you want to steal something? And it's just something that is happening. You know, it's really happening that someone is stealing. Sorry. I'm just trying to. Ooh. And the fact that Star Wars was one of the ones stolen, like, my goodness, Star Wars of all things, like, you can't deny Star Wars is a copyrighted thing. There's no way around that. We all know Star Wars is owned by someone. And it's just this, oh man, I don't know how to put it in, other than just people feeling like they're entitled. Like, oh, well, I can do this because this is who I am. And when we went around talking about this, I could not, and we like to have every different point of view on here. If someone wanted to come in and try to explain why they do fan art, again, you're more than welcome. We have the links in there from our radio network too. If you guys want to bring up any points, I'm happy to deal with them because I try to be very not down the middle for a lot of these conversations. But on this one, I'm finding it extremely hard to find any reason why it's okay to take it. So let's talk about the public domain. We'll quickly switch over here. All right. So public domain, this is taking someone else's character, usually one that is not protected under copyright because it has fallen to the wayside. A company has just naturally let it expire or too much time has happened, such as Sherlock Holmes. And Sherlock Holmes is one of those characters I think a lot of writers would like to write. It's hard. I mean, I'll be honest. I did make a story once sort of based on Sherlock Holmes. Not really. It was a different take on it. But, I mean, yeah, I mean, if you can do it, why not play with it? We all grew up liking Sherlock Holmes, right? So that's what public domain is good for. If you want to do something that someone else has created that you think you can make more interesting, I get that. I understand that. Like, I can actually appreciate that to a certain degree. I think that there are some people who just are void of actually the talent of creating something new, and they rely too much on something else that's created, or worse, they try to just pick something up and hope that someone will care and cash in on it without creating anything really tangible. Because let's be honest, in comic books, we want to be entertained. I think a lot of people forget that. I think people forget that we want to be entertained. We want to have something that is interesting to be part of this. So I want to know from you guys. Let's open up that conversation. Let's have it right now. Tell me, do you guys think right now in the comment section, do you think it's okay to take someone else's IPs, to write your own Batman story? Because I saw this. Someone was putting out these these art things of different characters, and on top of it they said, oh, for educational purposes. But meanwhile, there was nothing educational about the things they were doing. They were just taking someone else's characters and trying to hide behind educational purposes. And I called them out for it. I told them both privately and publicly I thought what they did was wrong. I thought they had stepped over lines. As a matter of fact, that little thing actually started after I had mentioned that, because I think it's appallable that you would just take things. Again, I mean, it's the whole theft system in America. Does anyone believe that we're allowed to steal? It just comes down to something that simple, doesn't it? Are we allowed to steal, or are we not allowed to steal? And to me, I don't know about the rest, but I was taught that theft is wrong. You know, and I'm not trying to put shade on anyone. I'm not trying to talk down about anyone. I'm just being honest. When did it become okay to take something from someone else that wasn't yours? Because that's really the conversation we're having right now. And again, this is, I don't find a way that this can be defended. Outside of the fact, well, it's up to them to make a decision on what they want to do. I just don't know how that one sits with me. So you're basically saying, well, you know, unless someone reports it to the right person reports it to the right people, then it's okay. I don't know. It makes me so angry, to be honest with you all, as a creator. Is that because that means that if I don't see it, then someone can feel like it's okay. So I have to be monitoring every inch of the internet, because if I don't find it, then the assumption is, well, he didn't report it, so we did a really good job at hiding it, so now we get away with it. Is that really the standard we want to go with this? Is that really where we're at, that the standard is so low that all it takes is literally just going, well, you know, no one had said anything about it. And we have something from Ralph right now. We did that with our Oz comics and published over 40 different issues, turning more into an adventure fantasy. Oz is one of those things that is now a public domain. Now, let me ask you, Ralph, why did you do that? Was it just you guys trying to do something simple, or were you really excited about it? Because I think that matters. You know what I mean? I think if you take something and you're just a super fan, like if Batman became public domain, I'd be honest, I'd probably write a Batman story. I know there'd be 5 million other Batman stories made, and I'm aware of that fact, and I'm okay with that, because I think my Batman story would be better than everyone else's, just like everyone else out there. And, you know, end of day, that's kind of cool that we all have this passion for a character. So, Ralph, tell me, is it your passion that drove you to tell it? Because that'd be super cool. I'd love to hear about that. All right. Sorry, I'm still trying to make sure that we're shared out so you guys can all be part of this conversation. Steve Freebie says, as long as they don't sell it or use it to make money, maybe if it was just for someone's portfolio to produce work. To produce work, I can agree with. But here's always the thing I don't like. And this is it. The one thing I'll give credit to fan art for is fan art often is just that. It's art. They don't really add any dialogue. As a writer, if someone came up to me, I'll be honest with you, if you came up to me and said, hey, Rob, I saw that you do Cat Dad and Supermom. I'd like to do some cool fan art. Here's what I'll do. I'll give you the image so you can sell it as posters, and I'll sell it as posters. And I would be like, okay, I can do something like that. And I'd make an arrangement for the amount of posters I would want to do. And if I noticed they were selling more, but I would want my address on the bottom. There's a free thing. Because if ever someone liked the art, they could come to the web address and suddenly I could make it. But if you're making a character say something that you're not allowed to, I think that's almost, how to put this right. Demon Nation, if you want to hop on and quickly talk about your new home on YouTube, feel free. The link is just above in the comment section. I know our friend over at Demon Nation had to restart, as it were, so we want to help him. So you guys can, once you're done watching this video today, please take the time to go over to Demon Nation on on YouTube, and help us make sure that he gets back up where he belongs. And all right, so I don't know though, because I mean, if if you're putting words in a character's mouth, I almost feel like that's a violation. You don't get to do that if it's not your IP. Just my thought on it, to be honest. You don't get to cross that line with someone else's work, Steve. Just regular fan art, regular just copying something someone else has done is one thing. But writing a story with characters, it just feels, to me as a creator with the IPs, copyrights in the Library of Congress, I feel like it's dirty. It makes me want to take a shower when I see it because it's just a violation of trust. Creators shouldn't take from creators. And don't get me wrong, comic book creators, we see something and we try to make it our own and put out a very similar thing. You know, like Wonder Woman and then the Amazon Woman in Marvel, DC, you know, Deadpool, Slade, or as most people now think, it was Deadpool first, Slade second. But you get what I'm saying, and you get where I'm going with that. Ralph continues, but those were in public domain as long as they were not looking like the MGM version. And that's true. And we're going to have Stephen Phil step in right quick with us. Stephen Phil, tell us how you're doing and who you are.
Hey, what's going on, Rob? Haven't seen you in a while. It's good to be back. Hey, rebranding, trying to branch out, do some more things, and build the business and try to add on some more things, mainly for the purpose of getting the exposure out there for my guests. I can get the exposure out there in one level was fine. Now I'm able to go ahead and expand on that, which is great. So if you have not already, like Rob said, if you'll go ahead and jump on over to Demon Nation on Facebook and on YouTube and go ahead and apply, get onto there, I'd certainly appreciate it as we can go ahead and get that exposure out there for the guests that are coming on.
I appreciate that. I appreciate you stopping in. Can you stay or you got to run? Because I know you usually do shows tonight.
I'm good for just a little bit. I got about 45 minutes before I got to get in my green room.
All right, very cool. Well, Randy, tell them who you are. We have the great Randy Zimmerman joining us.
I just walked in out of nowhere. So, hey, everybody, I'm Randy Zimmerman. I've been doing alternative and independent comics for a long, long time, done just about everything in this business that you can imagine. Right now, I'm an award-winning commercial and graphic artist whose specialty is sequential art for advertising and education purposes. And I also do the Zim Geek channel here on YouTube. So.
All right, so what are your guys' personal take on this? Someone just taking Star Wars and kickstarting a comic book. Someone taking Batman and just kickstarting a comic book. These aren't public domain characters. There's no doubt that what they're doing is ethically wrong, morally wrong, and legally wrong. What do you guys take on that?
Well, they try to pass it off as fanfic. And when you're making money at it, it's not fanfic, or asking money for it. It's not really fanfic. So.
And fan fiction is one of those dirty words within the industry because whenever you go to cons, fan fiction is the one thing that people don't like seeing in Artist Alley, especially because, you know, Rob's working his ass off to try to do a book over there. Other people are working their ass off to do these books and everything. And all of a sudden, they come up with something that looks exactly like it. They may misspell it by one letter or something, and all of a sudden it's fan fiction is all it is, and they try to get away with that and make money off of it. I don't agree with that. I think that if the artist is going to put their heart and soul into something, put their passion into their work, it's their work. So anything past that, they should get, credit for that, not someone else just because they changed the color of the costume or something. That makes no sense to me.
Well, I mean, the legal definition, I think, is a little more greater than that when you're in a bigger space of publication. But you're right, on these lower levels. And this is the one thing that really terrifies me about this. And someone could take my Barbara Unleashed from me, my Cat Dad, my Supermom, my Monsters book. And those are characters I didn't even invent with the Monsters book, but could take my spin, take everything I did, just reprint it and put it on their table. And if I can't find them, then what stops them from writing more stories in that regard? Someone reading it and hating it, and now they have a preconceived notion that I don't know what I'm doing. Because while the first great issue of Cat Dad and Supermom was great, that second one, when they introduced all these new characters and Cat Dad and Supermom were barely in it, it now sucks. So it goes around that my book sucks, and I'm like, wait a minute, my second issue's not out. So I got to find it? Like, this is, what are we playing, Marco Polo? I got to go find the bad guy to stop the bad guy when I don't know the bad guy exists? Is that really where we're at right now? Is that our standard in the industry?
Unfortunately, everybody's scrambling right now because they think the only way they can survive is to just go ahead and crawl over everybody to get up there, whenever they don't understand that right now, if we would unify within the, especially the independence part of the industry, we could make our voice heard so much more on that. And I'm seeing it more and more, a lot from my perspective, but I'm also seeing, like you're talking about, every once in a while, someone will squeak through and do that. And it brings that bad stigma to the entire industry on this side. And we can't have that. I mean, we need to keep it where they understand that we have the core morals that we actually abide by within the industry, and not just one person's going to ruin it for everybody.
Right.
Absolutely. Randy?
I can't help but agree 100%.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about let's switch gears a little bit and talk about public domain. What do you guys think about public domain? Do you think that's, because I mean, I've used monsters, so I have taken public domain characters and I have used them. I had to check exactly what I could do, what I couldn't do, even the wording of it I had to check with, but I was in the clear of how I used them. But still, I took someone else's characters and put a spin on them. Is that okay? Creatively, do you guys think public domain is a good idea for creators to kind of delve into? Because I mean, and unfortunately, we do see this where suddenly everyone's making an Oz book, and then everyone's making a mummy book, and then everyone's making a zombie book. And these were all things that were created by someone else, but there's waves of it that just overtake us. So what do you guys think about public domain in general?
I see Ralph in the chat. Ralph Griffith. He's been doing an Oz book, or did an Oz book like 20 years ago. So,
yeah, he was talking to us about it.
Yeah. Public domain, I think, it can be awesome. It's not a playground that I want to stay in very long, but it's a playground that I love to play around in, especially doing an Oz story or a Sherlock Holmes story. Or right now, I'm working on one of the public domain superheroes. I'm working on a short story for that for publication later. I don't see anything wrong with it as long as it's definitely in public domain. And there are a lot of gray areas out there that desperately need to be defined, that a lot of these publishers don't want at all defined, and they leave it gray so that they can push their weight around on certain characters that are way older than dirt, or estates in general. I understand the Edgar Rice Burroughs estate wanting to try to protect Tarzan. I honestly do, because it's their father, grandfather, great-grandfather's work. But when it comes to comic book characters, and certain characters become icons that and tropes actually in the business, that sometimes it's just time to let these characters go and leave them in the public domain.
Yeah.
After 100 years, it's enough money. You've either made money or you haven't off the character, but it's probably time for that character to be played around with. See, we're joined by Varian.
I don't agree with anything that was said.
Rob, your mic is muted.
Oh. I was staying I heard an echo, so I didn't know if it was me. Varian, I played the warning twice today.
Oh, okay. Good. Yeah, I don't agree with anything that was said. I don't agree. I think that you guys are all wrong. No, I'm just kidding. I did catch the tail end of what Randy said about characters. I guess after 100 years going back into the public domain.
Mm-hmm. It's a little less than that, but that's about it. Yeah, I think it's 95 anymore. I'm not sure. That's part of the problem with the rules. The rules need to be definitely set. Stakes need to be drawn, or lines need to be drawn, so that we know what is and what isn't in public domain. But the big problem is that Superman and Mickey Mouse are getting close to being in public domain, and that those big corporations don't want that to happen.
No.
Well, I gotta be the bad guy here. I mean, look. If Disney loses Mickey, they lose their identity. I think that character's so synonymous with Disney that it would be a real shame if someone like me were to get a hold of Mickey.
So some would say that Disney lost his identity a long time, lost their identity a long time ago. So.
Varian, you're just a little low. Is there a way to make the reposition so you can sound a little louder?
Is this better?
Yeah, much better.
Much better.
We just wanted to make sure the radio listeners can hear you.
Yeah.
I just feel that if a character goes in the public domain, and I get it, I've seen a lot of people. There are some people out there who are waiting for characters to go in public domain because they're like salivating at oh yeah, man, when the Phantom goes in public domain, I got a great Phantom story. The problem is though, I always thought about this. Well, okay, character goes in the public domain. Well, what if we all got like stories of that character we're gonna do? I'm gonna release a Phantom book. Me too. Me three. And now there's 80 of them out 1 month, and yours gets lost in the shuffle.
Oh yeah.
Is it that's what you get, or?
Oh yeah.
But just imagine Batman becomes public domain the next week. How many Kickstarters are about Batman?
Well, there's also there's a level of creativity that needs to be done out there, because anybody right now can do a Batman story and not do Batman.
Yeah.
Sure.
You know, all they have to do is be a little creative about it. And plenty of people have been too. Now look at all of the Superman versions there are out there. You can do a Superman or Batman story all you want, just don't do Superman or Batman.
If you're going to bring up Superman, The Boys, because I'm sorry, but the lead guy that's in The Boys right there is Superman. I mean, he has all the powers of Superman.
Yeah, Homeland. Yeah. But even before that, you know, DC let Captain Marvel exist for years. I mean, Shazam Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
They didn't bother to take them to court until they decided that they had made enough money, or were making too much money, and they were at the time. They were making a lot more money than Superman was making. So, and then after their long court battle, Fawcett just decided to give up the copyright on the. Well, they didn't give up the copyright. They just stopped printing the character. And DC then came in and swooped in, took all their talent.
Wow. I remember reading that, yeah. It's interesting the path sometimes and how they'll just milk it. And again, going against the corporation, I don't understand why you guys want to piss off the mouse or DC Comics. The lawyers that these people hire are like expensive and want to take their time tormenting you because they'll pay for the torment, and then you're going to be ruined for the rest of your life. What's that documentary, Randy?
I don't remember the name of the documentary, but the case involved an underground comic called Air Pirate Funnies. That Disney, that had Mickey, and granted it had Mickey and Minnie doing some pretty blatant adult sexual positions, but Disney decided to make an example of them, and they fought it in court for years, and it completely devastated everybody's career.
All right, so Phil asked us, do you think the change in the copyright laws, due mainly Disney pushing to keep the IP practically indefinitely, is the way to go? The change has basically made it so nothing goes into public domain anymore. And is that good or bad to you? Now, first off, the law right now isn't that, like Randy said, it's hard. When I signed up for a copyright, it will last the rest of my life. I don't have to renew it. As long as I'm alive, I have the copyright. My son will inherit it, and he'll be able to keep it in the family for up to 90 years when I did my copyright. Here's the thing. When you file your copyright, those are the laws that you get grandfathered in with. If copyright laws change for the better or the worse, you do not get that necessarily added to you. So that is a little bit of a distinction to make. With that in mind, they can make laws that affect all copyrights, which is what you guys are, which is what Phil's kind of asking us. And I will answer, I'm going to be the bad guy. I don't believe in public domain. I like playing with Sherlock Holmes, but I want to keep my thing the rest of my life. I don't agree with 100 years. I created it. I want my family to have it. If everyone in my family dies, then you can have it. But I'm planning to raise rabbits that reproduce. So someone in my family will own it for the rest of existence.
Varian, just so you know, you're causing an echo.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure if you have two live mics on.
No, I'm just going through my phone.
It went away. Oh, no,
it's still there.
I think we're hearing you a little bit. It's nothing horrible, though.
There's a back echo. That's pretty hard.
I wasn't going to be here for long, but you guys can, you can mute me. Go ahead. I can,
I'll take care of you, buddy.
Ooh.
There you go.
What do you think, Randy, about that?
I mean, here online. You know what I mean. Anyway.
Do you think that you should keep it indefinitely now? Should a corporate, like I get my book, I make Cat Den Supermom, I sell it to Nickelodeon, and because of the new laws, now Nickelodeon owns it forever.
Well,
until Nickelodeon goes out.
Just like I said, there are ways of doing these stories creatively, or you don't have to take that IP specifically. So if they're that worried about owning it, and you're that hot on doing a story with that character, create your own icon.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And what I want to go ahead and bring up is I've been involved in a lot of discussions online that we've just kind of kicked this around and seen, where it'll take it on this, because too many people get on there and they're like, well, I can't do anything else but Batman. That's the only character that I know how to do on there. I know I can't use Batman, but I'm using this one over here that's got utility belt and this, that, and the other. And you just want to go in there and go, where's your creativity? If you're a creator, then you can create. That's the whole point of being a creator, is you can go in here and mold whatever you want to present up here. And if it doesn't work the first time, then you go ahead and finesse it. You adapt, you change, you make it whatever you need to on that. But you do the research in the market beforehand, and you'll have winners every single time if you'll do the work. But the whole point is you got to do the work.
Yeah, that's the real key. And that coin works both sides. If a corporation wants to protect an icon, which Disney does with Mickey Mouse, if you noticed a few years back, they went through and did a whole string of the old style classic Mickey Mouse cartoons. And they did that, I'm sure, well, not just to make a lot of money off of, and a lot of those were really, really good and well done, but also to secure the copyright on that version of Mickey.
Oh, it gets better than that. Do you know that they actually used old frames of him as what was it? Steamboat Willie?
Yeah.
As a logo that they trademarked, and trademark is so much different than anything else. See, these companies have realized there is no expiration on trademarks, by the way. You can just renew a trademark over and over and over again. There's no such thing as expiring trademarks. Yeah. So these companies are realizing, well, here's what we'll do. We'll just trademark it. So now, sure, go ahead, try to write a story, but you have to make it look completely different, or our lawyers will come suck everything out of your body, including your bones, and just leave a pile of skin.
Yeah. Well, like I said, there's creative ways of protecting that IP. You don't have to worry about. But there is a definite need to draw some lines with those copyright laws, so that creatives don't get caught doing and spending a lot of time on a property they think is in public domain, but really isn't. So.
You with us, Varian?
Yeah, is that better?
Yeah, actually,
100% better.
Did you have anything to add to this about this? What would it be if, like, Disney indefinitely got to keep the mouse? Would you be a fan of that? Do you think that would hurt or help the industry?
Again, I just worry that Mickey is such a big part of the Disney branding that losing him would just, I mean, the company will survive, but it would be weird. And then it's just it would be weird to me to see another mascot for Disney, or Mickey being used outside of Disney, confusion, just all kinds of bad stuff. But I mean, also I know a lot of creatives that I would I know there's some characters that I would let to play with if given the opportunity, but I just don't like the idea of us using Mickey for. I just don't know. I don't like it.
Varian's watched some disturbing Disney porn. I can hear it in his voice. He knows it'll go mainstream. Mary Dumas says, I think many people think it's okay because they really don't know any better. In certain artists' Facebook pages, it is in their rules. It's not allowed to be discussed. Wow, you're not even allowed to discuss this?
Yep.
Wow. Talk about Kool-Aid drinkers. Ralph says, I read all the famous 14 and loved the books and wanted to make it more fantasy adventure. The characters. I know. Thank you, Randy. For those who don't know, I asked him why he created Oz, because I wanted to hear. Because I think if you're really passionate about it, it can be a beautiful story. Yeah. Even though I'm for a creator keeping it indefinitely, right now that's not the law. So I think there's nothing wrong with using public domain. I'm like Randy. Don't be the guy who only does public domain characters, or girl, or woman, because what's that?
Don't be the creative that's always playing in the public domain.
Yeah, because then you're going to get known as someone who can't do it on your own, and you're just taking from someone else. Or you'll be known as someone who works for Marvel and DC. I read all the famous 14 and loved the books and wanted to make it more fantasy adventure. The characters are great. And I love the friendships between the characters. And I love telling stories about friendships when it's up against tough situations and how those friendships can overcome them. That's pretty awesome. I actually am going to have to try to look that up, Ralph, one time. Please send us a link so I can actually look into that, because now I'm interested. But that's interesting.
And even with Oz, it is literally a minefield as to what you can and cannot use. And you cannot use the MGM movie as any type of a staple. You definitely have to use key icons that are only in the books, or MGM will chase after you really hard. So you have to be very careful when you're doing Oz.
I would also say, if you're going to play in that public domain sandbox, keep in mind, and I know for a lot of creators this will be an issue, but keep in mind there's going to be an asterisk next to your name if you should win any type of notoriety with that character. Oh, this is, Varian Grandis did an awesome, 30-page Felix the Cat comic series, but he didn't create Felix the Cat. He's not the owner, and you can do it too. So it's keep in mind that will be an issue. It will never be yours, and even though those will be your stories, it'll be.
Oh, we keep losing you, Varian. Just for a second there.
You all right, Varian? You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. What was the last thing you said? It kicked out.
I was saying that keep in mind that it will be an issue as you get, notoriety for the script you wrote. And it could be the best script ever, but there's always going to be an asterisk next to your name concerning that property.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you guys a question. All these fired DC writers and artists from DC and Marvel, because Marvel's been quietly cleaning house for those who they haven't been having a Black Friday. They've just been quietly firing people.
It's coming, yeah.
Yeah. Do you see them coming to Kickstarter? Like, realistically, you independent creators, do you think any of them are going to show up to Kickstarter and try to kickstart those same characters they were just working on? Or do you think they're going to do what Randy said and try to twist what they just created and make it their own and make it something new and keep going with a little – because let's be honest, guys. On Kickstarter, you're getting 1,000 backers. That's a small population. So that could make you some good money if they were fans. It's not like when you're selling a DC comic. I mean, to be a popular DC comic, I think someone said that you had to sell like 100,000 units at one point, but now it's just into the tens of thousands, which is kind of scary for our industry.
Apparently, their royalty program kicks in at 40,000.
Yeah, I mean, just imagine that. Their books being canceled. How'd anyone getting royalties right now?
Yeah.
And I say it all the time, and I said this on the Comicsgate. I was talking about Comicsgate earlier today on my You're Not Alone series, and I said one of the things you got to give credit to Comicsgate for is that they're exposing this underbelly of it, and they're talking about good comics, and they're talking about getting the fans more involved. And I am, interested to see what they're coming up with and how their strategies are, because they're making sense. They're finding that fan base that's abandoned the major ones. So
really, that's kind of how part of Comicsgate started. Is you had a guy start a critique site where he was talking about all the things that was frustrating him about comics, and then he got chastised for it.
That was a good actual, he was pointing out things that I was like, I didn't know how to say it, but he's right. Right there. That's exactly how I feel. He said it better than I could figure out how to word it. But here's the thing that I really want to point out to you, to the watchers and the listeners. Why the hell would you go to Marvel and DC when they're failing right now and trying to take things from them? Clearly, it's not working for them. They're hitting dead ends. Create your own stuff, man. Get out there and tell your own stories without worrying about it,
Yeah, Marvel's even stripping Dark Horse right now. So Dark Horse has got next to nothing left because Marvel's stripping the last 2 good titles they had. It's like they have no fresh ideas they can come up with, and that makes no sense to me, because I deal with independent creators on a daily basis, and there are so many new and fresh ideas out there that are working, yet Marvel can't come up with something new and fresh out there to work with. And why are they doing public domain? I mean, why are they doing where they lock it in where it's not public domain if they can't do anything with it? It's like they're holding on to it but can't do anything with it.
That's it exactly.
I mean, this is just also not hiring them. I hate to say it, but you have to start looking at who you're hiring. We have gone through a decade of people complaining about the storytelling. When do we start really stopping and going, well, who have we been having tell the stories?
Yep.
And we have to take that deeper look. Who did a good job? Let's look at them. Let's give them more work and find out, people who are associating with them, who are following them on social media, those types of exciting writers. Because I'll let you all in a little secret. The people doing the best in comics came from independent comics themselves. They were creating something. All the failures that have happened, in the industry where it was a big crash where people that did not write comics before that, a lot of them came in, well, I'm not even a fan of comics. I'm going to make comics my way. And oh my God, did they ever make it their way? And oh, was it horrible but fun to watch? It was like a car crash.
That's
like
true. That's true for the most part, but that really doesn't explain Brian Michael Bendis.
I think he had talent at one point in his career where he really hit a good vein of stuff, but because there was a point where he was exciting and then he lost it. And I think there was a political agenda that he got involved in that hurt him in the long run. And I think when he went to DC, he left all that politics out. Like, you can see a huge fucking difference. And what it was is that the people who he pissed off by being political wouldn't give him a chance. And the people who liked him for being political were turned off by the fact he wasn't political anymore. He kind of hurt himself and shoehorned himself into that corner of, oh, shit, now only the SJWs that I've been writing to like me, shit, I kind of shot myself in the foot. Mm-hmm. And I think that explains him. And that's too bad because he's a talented guy. I mean, no matter what you think about his politics, the man knew how to write a story.
Yep.
I just thought, I mean, the rest of you, I mean, Randy, I think would say that he didn't like his storytelling when it got political. But before he got political, what are your thoughts on him, Randy?
Fifth Amendment.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Kid, what do you got for us? Kid V?
I have a problem with Bendis' writing. I was, but you know, I was consuming so many comic books when he was, you know, on my normal pool list that kind of things are kind of blending together. I do know that the last time that I knew I was actively reading Bendis was he got on Iron Man for a minute, and that was
That's when he created Ironheart.
Yeah, she showed up shortly after that. And I was, you know, it's okay. I was starting to sour on Marvel though because they just had there were things in the books that weren't appealing to me. Not political things, just like
quality control things.
Yeah, quality. Like okay, and then the way the books were.
You just dropped.
Your mic's out.
My mic out again?
Yeah, you're good. You're good now.
It just dropped for a sec.
Yeah, the way the books were staggered to come out and, for sales reasons was just all over the place. I found myself spending upwards of, like, and the pricing was going up. I was paying like $250 to $300 of just pretty much Marvel material every month, and it got to the point where it's like, no more. Plus, 13 different variant covers for a new number one, especially when I felt like I kept buying new number ones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
You are the product now. You were the one who was getting sold and scooped up and being manipulated. Now, when comics were $1 each, you didn't mind how many you borrowed. The minute they hit $2, you're like, whoa, time out. I got into comic books when they were still 75 cents. I was like $1. And it was $1.25. I got to bring a quarter with me just for one book. And all of a sudden, I go back to a comic book shop because as a teenager, I suddenly got interested in something called sex. So I didn't do as much of comic books because I wanted to continue to have sex. And it wasn't popular back then. It just wasn't. Being a comic, I still watched movies. I still consider myself a fan. But I didn't buy comic books, or I didn't want to be looked on badly. And then I went back to it, and suddenly they were like $3 a shot sometimes. I'm like, what happened? Now that I create them, I'm like, why aren't they $5, $6 an issue? These things aren't cheap. But I'll say newspaper printing, that has to come back because that made comic books affordable. We need to go backwards now. I'm with Randy. Get some newspaper back.
Now you're just trying to trigger Varian.
No, Varian knows. I've been in a meeting with Varian. He understands the math behind it. He doesn't like it, but he understands the math.
Yeah, look, I unlike most people, I can be understanding and multifaceted in my belief system. So,
Well said.
Does it make money? All right, it makes sense. Let's do it.
I believe you put this up for some reason, Varian.
I may have clicked it by mistake. I'm sorry, but it is a good point.
Talk about it. Yeah, we'll talk about it. Meredith Logren says, take Athena Finger, a friend of mine actually. How the hell does she not have permission to use Batman? Well, that's because DC owns Batman. Beyond a shadow of a doubt, DC just owns Batman. But I think her bigger point is if she's not allowed to, then why the fuck would anyone else be allowed to do that? And I agree with. She said, I thought it was 75 years before it goes to public domain. No, that's not nowadays. Nowadays, it's the rest of my life, and it might be 75 years. It was either 75 or 90. But yeah, it's after I die now is the new rule. And it's only going to start keeping creators. I mean, there are people who created the Blender whose family are still making money, and that will never expire except the patent. And that family gets to continue to go on. If there's no public domain for patents, why are there public domain for characters? And again, I like playing with some of them, but I'm not sure I'm okay with public domain.
Are you sure there's not? Are you sure there's not a public domain for patents?
I know there's one for drugs where you can use generic ones, but mechanical parts. Let me look it up. As a matter of fact, you guys discussed. Let me look that up. Let me do some research.
So I seem to remember certain things going into public domain. I know drugs do at times. I think that's all formula. Are you with us, Varian?
I am.
Okay. But I think it's 95. Not after the person's dead anymore. They end up changing the goal line so many different times that it's really rough to figure out exactly what is and isn't in public domain. So there's always a big talk, are the Charlton characters in public domain? There was somebody that did a Kickstarter using the Archie characters.
Yep.
And I know the Archie characters some of them are in public domain, though Archie doesn't want to admit that they are because they keep doing a Mighty Crusaders book every few years. But Jack Cole's version of the Comet is apparently in public domain, from what I understand. And again, that goalpost might have shifted since then.
I also think that it might be important to state, because so many people get upset. You can still have, if you create a character that is a smash hit and you pass away, there is the estate of that you still have, and there are still monies due to your family, even though your work might be in public domain. So many people think, well, that's it, my family's not going to get money anymore. What the hell? It's not really that. I mean, it's there's a lot of legalities behind it, but it doesn't cut you out of ownership or money. It doesn't. It's just now people can toy with this character and do some things, and maybe even give new life to your character. Again, I'm on both sides. I can see a reason to do it, and I can see a reason why it shouldn't be done.
And I did look up that patent thing, and we're just not going to talk about it because it doesn't fit my narrative at all. So we're just going to quickly go past it because it's bad news. Patents only last 20 years, and they cannot be renewed. I was like, I've never patented anything. I'm taking it to the grave with me from now on.
Yeah, because they patented Superman, and they're not worried about that patent. They're worried about the character falling into public domain. So, I think they patented Superman right off the bat because comics were such a new entity, IPs were such a new entity. They weren't sure how that law would work. So, but when Superman came out, he had all sorts of imitators spring up because he was incredibly popular. So, they shut a couple of them down right off the bat, and then they allowed Captain Marvel for the longest time to survive.
Yeah, look at that. 20 years for a patent. Wow, they're getting hosed. They need better Disney lawyers. All right.
I'm sure they're working hard to change that law as we speak.
Disney's doing it too. Disney wants it because of all their park rides. They don't want anyone getting the blueprint. Yeah. It'll be Disney that does everything. In the end, after a global war, there'll be just Disney themed parks where
like cockroaches. Anyway,
like cockroaches. Yeah. Let's get to some more comments from our amazing audience. Thank you all for listening on the radio. If you want to send us an email, remember Indie Devil, spell Indie right. It's INDEE Devil. At gmail.com. comicswire@yahoo.com, and you can reach out to me. Or you can also send us a comicswire@yahoo.com, COMIX newswire@yahoo.com. All right, guys. So we're going to go back and we're going to see. Do you think the changing copyright laws due mainly Disney pushing to keep the IP practically indefinitely is the way? Oh, we already answered this one. Sorry. Sorry, Phil. This goes nothing. Oh, wait. The change has basically made it so nothing goes into public domain anymore. Is that good or bad? We already talked about that, so let's go to Steve's. From my understanding, the reason things become public domain is because they want properties to survive for cultural reasons. That's an interesting point. Let's talk about that. I mean, if we don't have public domain, don't these things just die?
They can, yes.
Kid? Z?
Say that last part again.
Steve said, this is from Steve Freebie. I'm sorry if that's not how you pronounce it. That's how I see it. From my understanding, the reason things become public domain is because they want the properties to survive for cultural reasons. Like Gone with the Wind should come back and we should redo that film.
Well, I thought that was like the National Register or something. I forget what they have where they put it up for, it's locked away and it's kept in like this. They basically keep a copy of it for cultural reasons or for the significance of the property. But I'm not sure why things go in the public domain. I guess just because you can't hold anything forever. And I mean, but you know what? Go ahead.
I believe they go into public domain because there are certain aspects of these IPs that become so ingrained in the icon of main entertainment that you just can't. After a while, there's no reason to hold back on any type of IP claim.
Right.
Certain aspects of Oz are eternal and embedded into the psyche.
Right.
So that's
And
the
I
kind of
mean,
thing.
you have to, I guess, understand too that when you create something, it's going to inspire others. I mean, how many times have we seen? I know a movie right now they made 4 times. Of course, they keep changing the characters' names and title. That's the same damn script.
That's Hollywood in general, though.
With a little tweak here and a little tweak there, it's the same damn movie.
Yeah.
You basically describe romantic comedies. Every one of them is the same movie.
Romantic comedies or a particular type of thriller that I've seen lately, where there's a woman who steps out with a guy, and she's married, and then the guy she stepped out with becomes this like addicted, like serial stalker. They've made that movie 4 times so far, and it's like it always ends the same. It always ends. So it's yeah. But I guess when stuff goes in.
Plots aren't part of public domain. It's the IP that's the.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying that because there's gonna be people are gonna take your character, so you might as well get used to it. There's gonna be
just bend over and take it with lube. Just have to be gentle.
Yeah.
But if you put your signature on it to the point where everything that you've got, your whole passion and everything is inside there, even if they do take your character, it's going to come back around, because karma is a bitch, and she'll find out, and she'll go ahead and spin the thing around, and they'll know, wait a minute, that's Rob's character, that's Varian's character. We know that doesn't belong to you, and that'll bite them in the ass at that point, at that time. So it's going to happen. You just have to make sure that you put that spin on it to where everybody knows that is above and beyond, without a doubt, your character.
Mm-hmm. All right. Now, Rob, I don't know if you've discussed this, and I don't want to throw the program off track because this is your show. But what would you tell, and what would the panel here tell publishers, especially indie publishers, who so often end up publishing some creator-owned story from a person, and that person comes with a story that's using a character that is in the public domain. Those contracts have to be lengthy. They have to be very detailed. A person's bringing a character to you, a story that they wrote based on a character they don't own. As a publisher, Randy, you published for a number of years too. How do you approach a contract like that or a situation like that?
Well, there's always a clause in the contract stating that if something comes up legal wise, that we aren't responsible. But then that's why I don't print a whole lot that is owned by the company. Everything is privately owned. So somebody comes up and says, "Hey, you ripped off my IP." It's like, "Oh, I only printed it. You need to talk to the creator because he owns that property, not me."
Yeah, I mean, very, not to go too into it, but yeah, you know from conversations we've had, I'll put it this way, that not me. You fuck up, you as a creator, you own it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
That's just you. You take the hit. And you have to understand, sometimes you're going to create something as a creator, and a bigger company is going to come along, step on your feet, and they'll literally look at you and go, "What are you going to do? Sue us? We have better lawyers. We'll keep you in court so long, by the time you even get anything, it won't matter to you anymore." Yep. Or you can take this payout. That's the reality of the world we live in. Yes, there are new laws coming up that should stop that type of behavior, but that's just possible. Sometimes you have to understand business for what it is. You're going to have to take the loss, and that's something that Meredith had brought up. Meredith said, and I understand this, if you can prove a family connection to the creator, shouldn't that be allowed? No, because that creator sometimes sold their rights away. With Bill Finger, he actually sold his rights shadily to, of course, Bob Kane, where they had a back-end deal where he thought he'd never have back-end deal, guys. Get everything in a contract. Back-end deals, all it means is you get it in the back if you're not the one who is there, because money makes the devil come out of everyone. I might call myself the indie devil, but you really want to see the person who's a devil, bring up money to them. It's the number one reason people get divorced. It's the number one reason couples break up that aren't dating. When money gets involved, that becomes a problem. Especially if you try to treat a woman like she's your equal and you expect her to pay half the check, and you're the bad guy suddenly. But that's a discussion for another.
Sounds like a personal problem, Rob.
No, I was raised, honestly, I would rather pay the check. I don't care. Call me a sexist. I actually like to take care of the people I date that are female and actually spoil them if I can, if I have the money for it. Big evil me. Send all your hate mail to IDon'tGiveAfuck.com.
How dare you be a gentleman, Rob? I mean, you got devil in the name. Why are you being a gentleman?
That's so not narcissistic, misogynistic.
Yeah. One day we're going to have a sit-down talk with females in the room, and we're going to talk about gender roles in 2020. That's going to be a fucking show. That'll be a topic soon. But staying on topic it's a good point, Variant. It's so legally dangerous for all this. Like, I don't understand why someone would want the kick me sign. First off, if DC or Marvel sees you making a comic book with their characters, you're done. You will never work for DC and Marvel. Fan art, yeah, they can get picked up. But there's a special, list when you fuck with their characters in that way. Because fan art, they can kind of write off as, okay, that they like what they saw. They're making it their own. I get that. When they try to do something like parody, they're like, okay, it's a parody. But when you take Batman and you what was the one we saw? They turned Batman black in it? That's a kick me sign for DC. That's going to be like, hey, if anyone's going to do that, it's going to be us, motherfucker. You don't get to do that before we do it. We will end you.
But it even includes, I've seen where they've had issues where they've used the same font style on the top of some of the books. And if it's Marvel or DC and it's a known font style, they will tag them in a heartbeat.
Well, Star Wars. Look at Star Wars book that was on Kickstarter.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, are you sure Star Wars isn't involved? Like the Lucas art? Like, this looks too close. Like, it was amazing. I'll give credit. Mind blown. It looked amazing. I actually wanted to read it, and that's the fan in you. The fan in you is like, oh, this could be exciting. Look at it. They really cared. Look at that art. Oh, I want it. But then the mind in the back of your head, the moral person goes, no, because they're taking away someone's job, you know? But it's hard because sometimes these companies, and I wanted to talk about this, they encourage fan art. Star Wars, for so many years, they allowed all these novels to be made. How do we take them serious now just because a mouse bought them?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, years ago, I mean, Marvel used to say, send your fan art in. We'll post it. We'll print the back of our books. They used to say that. They don't do that anymore. I don't believe. At least I haven't seen fan art printed in the back of a comic for a while. But
They're not interested
not a
in
mainstream.
looking for. That's because they're not interested in looking for new talent. They will find you.
Yeah. I also do want to say there used to be a point where if you wanted to be in comics, you were thought that there was something wrong with you. And it was a very small sector of people who wanted to be in comics.
Yeah.
Then the movies came out, and every screenwriter, every Tom, Dick, and Harry came running out saying, I can make a comic book. How hard could this be? And we have seen the horrible responses and the things that were born from this. It's been bad, people. Not anyone can make a comic. It's not true, people. It's not true at all. I've had to read over 100 horrible comics.
Anybody can make a comic. Just very few people can make a really good comic.
Yep. We still have faith in Varian. He'll get there one day.
Yep.
Yeah, well, I will eventually.
Just
Eventually, I'll get there.
draw less feathers. So.
Eventually, I'll get there. I do think that it is a learning process, and I am always kind of worried when I talk to people who not only don't know the process, like they don't want to learn it. They don't want to learn the process, and they don't want to learn the process from multiple avenues. Because here's the thing: if I tell you to go read Demon Phil's book on how to make comics, well, that could be a great book, but it's going to be how Demon Phil makes books. It's going to be how Rob Anderson writes a comic book. It's going to be how Varian Grant, Lord help you, makes the comic book.
I know there was a creator who made a book about how to get women to become your semi-girlfriend and run your table. There was like a creator version for that. Wasn't there, Randy? I remember a book, don't you?
I think you're right or wrong there.
All right. So what were you saying, Varian?
I think that you have to like you got to get in there. You got to find out what the hell is going on in your industry. Don't let anybody tell you. Go investigate for yourself. Take a week or two. In my case, I took months when I first decided I wanted to make comics, and I breathed in.
Just start mouthing his words.
I just breathed in whatever I could on comics. And
Demon Phil's got to run. He's got his show starting in just a little bit, so we wanted to say goodbye. How can they follow you for the people watching? And they'll come over to you. Everyone's got to go to Demon Phil when the show's over. So go ahead, Demon Phil. Tell them how they can follow you.
All right, so I'm about to have Unscripted, which is on every Saturday night, which is only on YouTube, so I can get away with so much more because Facebook doesn't allow me to get away with some stuff on there. It is simply a place where you can go as a creative team member. If you want to be on the panel, you just have to message me and let me know ahead of time. 4 main rules govern this show, which is no politics, no religion, no drama, and no negativity. As long as you can abide by those, we have a great show. It usually ends up with us laughing to the point of tears on there. If you want to see what's going on with that, right here at the bottom, you'll see Demon Nation right there. Look up Demon Nation on YouTube and on Facebook. Join up and follow the party on that because it's a blast.
All right, man. Definitely check that out. I'm amazed you can find creators who won't bitch and whine for an hour. You must be getting them drunk before the show. So go get them drunk so you have a great show. We'll tune in as soon as we're done. Thanks for being on. And make sure you subscribe to his channel so you get, the Demon Nation under your belt.
Yes.
All right. Thanks for being on, dude.
Nice
Phil.
meeting you, Phil.
Oh, you didn't know each other? I thought you guys knew each other. I'm sorry.
I've never seen him before in my life.
Well, I mean, it takes a while.
I remember. We've never had him on the show before, right, Varian? I don't remember him being on.
Phil's been on
Geekgasm.
some of the other shows. He hasn't been on Indie Vault proper, I don't believe, but
Seems like a great guy, though. I wrote the name of his channel down so I can check it out later.
Kino Subway says, hello, everyone. Dang, I'm always late to the show lately.
Always.
Yeah, Kino, we
9 Eastern Standard Time. Always 9.
Yeah. I keep thinking we need to get Kino on the show and talk to him just a bit, but
Probably do.
we'll make that happen shortly.
How Hodson says newsprint is where it's at. I kind of agree. I miss newsprint comics. I know, Varian. I'm not trying to trigger you. I promise. I'm not trying to get you mad. But I miss newsprint comics. They were affordable. They were awesome. They had a smell to them. And sure, some of it rubbed off on your hand while you were reading it, but it was still just an awesome day. And I could get a stack of comics like this, and now all I get is one alternate cover for that same price.
How large?
I understand.
Marvel and DC would, not that I want to encourage the mainstream, but how large Marvel and DC would grow their audience, especially right now, if they were to sit down and do the little digest-size puzzle books, saddle-stitched for $1, and circulate them through all of the, not just the retailers, which they should do, but circulate them through all of the dollar stores in black and white. You'd have people reading Iron Man, the old Don Heck Iron Mans and Avengers stories. A lot of that stuff's super timeless. And if they would just bother, especially DC's got a huge library of this stuff going back literally to 36, even before that. And you can cut out the PC material, the non-PC material, the racial stereotypes of the day and that kind of stuff, and still have an incredible wealth of material. They could just, what's it going to hurt them? Just reprint it in a small saddle stitch format, print 5, 6, 10, even 100, 150,000 of them, and sell them to the dollar stores to sell, and sell out. Beautiful stuff. They just won't do it because they have no respect for their history.
Well, that might change with AT&T. AT&T will milk that cow for anything they can.
If they ever do, I'd gladly be the editor of that type of work, because I know the capabilities of what they have.
We do have a little bit of extra time, and I think that we're going to read all these comments. But I do want to talk about the DC things. That's been big news this week.
One last thing while we're getting onto the public domain IPs, and again, I can't stress this enough. If you want to write or draw any character, create your own icon of this character. Create your own IP of this character. I've got my version of Superman out there that everybody will see eventually that I have published before. I've got my own version. What's
No, you don't have your own version. You are inspired by
my own homage, to these characters. I have my own homage to Punisher out there. But I'll tell you this, they don't look anything like Superman or Punisher. But if you go back and you dig deep enough, a lot of these tropes are so wide open and so used and overused, they're begging for reinterpretation and personal spins. So, get to work, but work creatively. Sorry, and just as I was saying that, Rob runs.
No, I had Jackson needed milk. I absolutely agree with you. That is awesome, and we're all inspired. Look, everyone always says we're always telling the same 7 stories, but in different ways.
Yeah.
Realistically, we're all inspired by each other. I always say we take in the world and we regurgitate it. That's why I don't like public domain, because you're stopped. I like the public domain, like our friend who was in here today was telling us about how inspired they were about everything that was going on. And Ralph was talking about Ralph Griffin. He was talking about how much it inspires him. That's his version of it. So make your own version, like Randy's saying. Don't make Oz. Make something new. Make the new Oz that lasts a generation.
And you would be amazed, especially when it comes to Oz as an example, how fantastic that the original property is, and how much it's been eroded trope-wise over the years. I did a updating of the War of the Worlds novel for Caliber that I'm still getting royalties from because it's available on Amazon. War of the Worlds Infestation. But in order to do that, I went back and not only reread the original novel, but I went back and found that Wells had donated his original papers to the University of Illinois, I believe it was, and they had gone through and done entire volumes of notations on the novel. This is for this reason, this was for that reason. And there's so much more in the book than a simple Martian invasion story. That was awesome, and that I was able to use creatively in the property that I did for Caliber. So and it was a lot of fun to do, but I'm kind of a research nerd in my old age anyway. So
no, but I love that passion that you have. Like, make it your own. Like, own that shit. Take what you liked about it and then use it. Batman wasn't made on its own. It was inspired by something else. That was inspired by something else. This is evolution of storytelling. It goes back to even Bible days. Like I read the Bible, and that was a lot of storytelling. Yeah, there was a lot of other things in it, but there was a lot of storytelling, and that's all we're doing is we're telling our stories based on what we see. So this new generation of creators are putting out some amazing stories. I mean, one of the ones that Kid down there was creating was ahead of its time, and I remember you tell that story all the time where you created something where people weren't ready for it, and suddenly 20 years later. Well, it's not 20, but it's like a decade later. Now that would be perfect in the Image catalog, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you know, there.
Your mic just dropped again, buddy.
I think it's
There
because
you
my
go.
phone keeps flipping orientation.
Ah.
Yeah, there are things that aren't ready. They aren't of their time yet, and you know, you put it in your back pocket and you wait.
Yeah.
You know, and I've got some I've got a lot of stories. Got a lot of stories written. I've got a lot of stories to tell yet, and hopefully I get around to doing them. That's the thing. Hopefully I got enough time left to do them.
Ralph Griffith says I did with the Realm my adventure fantasy story too. Yeah. But I tell anybody, if you haven't read those first two, especially the first two volumes of Oz, if you haven't read those directly, if you're just going off the MGM movie, you're missing out on so much. About Oz is a lot deeper than what those movies are. A lot deeper, especially the second one is amazing and incredibly contemporary even today.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to do some. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Barry.
Yeah, I think that you know, pulling stuff from the public domain, you know, you could even pull an element from a story and find that you got a whole new original story just because of that.
Well, look at how many things have come off of John Carter. You know, you go back to John Carter, 1920, I think 26 or 29 novel that is in public domain, and how many tropes from that have evolved into so many other different properties of the typical average Joe being thrown into a completely different fantasy world. And like Ralph said, he even did. There are parts of that go into the realm, as well. It's four kids get zapped into a Dungeons and Dragons type fantasy world. But you know, you wouldn't see Flash Gordon. You wouldn't see. The list is long. Adam Strange is part of that. All derivative from John Carter. So it really, a lot of times, it really pays if you're ever looking for inspiration to go back and read those old classics.
And Steve says, "Oh, what I was going to say is the Oz book. Yeah, when I wrote an Oz story for an anthology. I had to go back and look at things, and it was amazed how many different characters just never made the MGA movies.
Yeah,
and how much deeper it really was. And I was even like, well, what can we use? What can't we use? How close to MGM can we get? Because some of the things were very similar. So if it was similar, was it good or not? So it's interesting. Again, like Randy always says, and I'm always going to put it out there, get an education. You want to do public domain, you better have read everything you can about that character.
and know what is and isn't public domain.
Yeah, because you can screw up real quick without meaning to. Steve says Popeye or Betty Boop would be forgotten if creators didn't create new content for new generations. Honestly, I haven't seen anything for Betty Boop. I don't think you can do Betty Boop right now.
I don't believe you can. There's some of the cartoons that you can use. The same thing with Popeye. I don't believe Popeye's in public domain because I believe the comic strip is still coming out. So,
and
but the old Thimble theaters are in public domain.
Yeah.
Well, Rob, when you said that though, did you mean just because of the theme of Betty Boop?
No, I meant as a character, but even the theme would be problematic. But you could just change that around. I mean, think about reprinting the original Wonder Woman comics right now, and how much you would have to kind of you're talking about PC. That's a problem with PC. Everyone listening and watching right now, it changes. So right now, if we put out the original Wonder Woman, you might get a watered down version that in 10 years we might actually be a little more advanced and talk about things differently. We're in a bad spot right now. Let's be honest. 2020, we need to hit pause on any discussion over it and grow up a bit. We all need to get a bit better education, be more understanding, be more loving, stop the division, and start getting together again. Like, we do better when we're all mixing in. I grew up in Queens. And Queens is the melting pot of the world. They actually noticed that there's no place in the earth like Queens. And I loved growing up in Queens. It breaks my heart to think that we've put up so many different barriers because we don't get the interesting stories anymore. We need to work together. And that's the whole reason I'm an ally for everything. And I hold up signs that piss people off saying, how dare I be a Comicsgate ally? Because it matters that we all see each other as individuals. And that's what makes storytelling great. I keep hearing, well, Hollywood doesn't know how to go against the Avengers movie. It's because you've been telling us the same story for 30 years. We know how that movie ends. Oh, my God. You're not doing anything special. Give us new content. Give us the next Matrix. But let it be someone new who creates it. Stop giving all the jobs to your friends. How about that? How about you stop hiring the people that you know and go out of your way to find the people you don't know, but that the public likes? Again, that's the whole point of Comicsgate, is to showcase and highlight the creators of tomorrow today in a way that hasn't been seen before in comics. This word called supportive. I've heard about this indie comic community. It's bullshit. It's a whole bunch of different creators trying to get ahead of the other creators and giving a pecking order to each other. When you look at Comicsgate, they actually care about each other. They celebrate each other and they help each other out. If you take away the name Comicsgate from that and you call that supportive community, everyone would agree with what they're doing because they are supporting each other. And I really appreciate everything they do. But we need to start looking at it that way. Stop putting up these divides. And because when we look back at these things, Betty Boop was a great, everyone's seen Betty Boop in the room, right? That was entertaining. But now you'd be like, oh my God, you can't do that because blah, 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 blah. Stop. Sometimes it's just a fucking joke.
I do want to say this. You had mentioned there are people on that are not Comicsgate that are really, helpful, supportive people. Indie Vote is neutral. We keep, we bring everybody on the show. We don't care about your affiliation whatsoever. I just think that what you run into occasionally are these, pockets of, I'm going to use my own analogy, pockets of infectious bacteria on the body of comics that contain some of the most nastiest, vile elements ever. And if you lance them or they burst, it's just nastiness that tries to spread throughout the entire, it's horrible. Mm-hmm. And I'm seeing so much of it that I'm shocked. I'm shocked about just how nasty it's gotten. I have, and I've said this before, and not to go off subject, but what do you say, Ralph?
I was responding to Ralph. He just mentioned something, and I wanted to acknowledge it.
Not to
continue.
go off
What you're saying, what you're saying is absolutely important, and it almost talks to the nature of comics in itself. So I think it needs to be said because there needs to be what you're going to say, and I want you to say it.
It really, because it's been working on me all day. It's working on me all since a lot of BS went down. There are people who just are just poisonous, and they allow others poison and toxicity to invade them and turn them into liars and backstabbers. Again, I started Indie Vote to bring everybody, give everybody a shot, give everybody the opportunity to promote themselves. I don't promote myself through Indie Vote. I mean, and people get pissed at me. Loved ones get pissed at me because why aren't you promoting yourself? What the hell? Randy will tell you. I had to be asked to mention Last Call Comics in my intro, which is something I didn't do. I didn't do it first. I didn't mention that I have a publishing company. I just felt like it was. I don't mention every time we make a new book. I don't put it on IndieVote.com. It wasn't there to promote me, but there's so much nastiness and hatred in particular pockets of our industry that desperately they don't want to be an industry. They want to be a community, because if you're a community, you can just belong. You can move into a neighborhood and you belong there, and that's it. You don't have to cut your grass. You don't have to fix your house up. You live there. You're part of the community. Whereas if you're in the industry, you go to a job, you have to fucking work.
But I don't know
That
about
said,
that. It feels like the community's got homeowner associations that rule the roost now. And that's why they want to call it a community, because they want to self-impose themselves as important people who haven't earned the right to be important. Look, I do a lot, but I'm not important. I'm not. And I don't earn that respect yet to be considered important outside of my advocating work. And I'm working to earn that title where one day someone can be like, no, Rob did important stuff for comics, and he did that. Look what he did with X, Y, and Z. I'm not there yet, and I'm never going to try to take anyone down to make myself bigger than anyone else. Ooh.
I think it was just there's a level of toxicity on the side of what I was told is, just the regular people that want to make comics. There's a level of toxicity that I'm finding that I didn't believe a week ago existed. If you'd have told me a week ago the level of toxicity that I'm not finding out exists, out there, I would not have believed it. And I've watched them come after me, my wife, this network that we've built for 3 years. And I say we, meaning there's a lot of people who put blood, sweat, and tears into Indie Vault. Yourself, Randy, Eric Hodson, so many different people that have just helped this network to grow, and to watch people try to take it down with just their own beliefs. I had somebody tell me they were upset because Lola's breasts are too big, and she has a medical condition. If you listen to the show, instead of getting whatever Cliff Notes version of it you're getting, you would find that out. But maybe the person's wife gets mad because what are you doing there with that big boobie girl? I don't know the situation. I don't know, but tell your wife she has a medical condition. Now, if you want to go further than that, that's fine. But I do want to say this, Rob, and I'll end it there, because I was reached out to by someone who was aware of what's going on, and they said to me, this is over. So people are mad at you over something that happened on the show. Like, why are they mad at you? And after you've done so much for the industry, like, wouldn't shit cancel out? Like, well, he's done this, and this, and this, and this without ever asking for anything in return. One time, one chance, one thing pissed them off enough to say Varian's a bad guy. Bullshit. It's not about the action. It's about me.
Well, you remember there was a conversation I had with someone who said those same words to me. Like, Rob, how much until you fucking break? How much until you just stop caring enough to try to help anyone anymore? And I remember having that conversation with someone, and I remember saying, like, if I was ever going to stop, this would be the moment. I'm just too stupid to care. Because you have to be. There has to be a little bit of stupidity for you to continuously take the abuse that these people who are bored, who can't go out and do their own thing, and now are trying, let's be honest, what they're doing is trying to kneecap you and then try to take over your spot. Oh, I'll bloody them up and I'll come in and I'll be the important thing. I've seen it 100 times with indie advocates. And for the record, Varian and me have never competed with each other and only helped each other's sites out, because guess what? The world is too fucking big to think that only one website should matter. He does it his way, I do it my way. What the fuck is wrong with people?
Yeah, and the thing is, we don't always agree with how we do things.
Yeah.
But Rob's not going to do that. I know he's not going to do that, but I'll do it this way. And there's a lot of times we don't agree with stuff, but I think that it speaks to this. I have to tell people. I feel like ringing a bell. I feel like I need to run through the village and tell them.
Feels like he needs to run through the village and tell him your mic dropped again.
Okay, like I need to run through the village of comic creators and tell them, like Paul Revere, except I'm gonna be screaming, "These motherfuckers ain't right."
Well, the big problem is that there's been a lot of kids out there pointing and screaming that the emperor has no clothes. They don't listen to him either.
Yeah, so. And it's sad, and this really is entitled babies thinking they deserve something without earning it. And again, you don't understand how much you really have to earn. You're patting yourself on the back for small victories that none of us are really impressed by. You made a couple $1,000s on Kickstarter. You're not king of the indie comics. I'm sorry, you're just not. Settle down. You have a website that promotes creators? Fuck, so do I. You know the difference between me and you is I didn't take 5 years off.
Next thing you know, they'll be doing a master class and charging $500 for it.
Too late. Already happening. How to make shit comics like I did.
Eventually they'll end up in sports betting, so it's okay.
I think the more sites promoting indie comics, the better. Bring them on. Yeah. Just do the fucking work. Don't sit up there and just put together something just because, oh, I want to make an indie comic site. Do the fucking work. I reached out to a gentleman back 3 years ago because he was doing the work on a indie video game site. Mm-hmm. And I reached out to him. I said, hey, man, let's see if we can do some co-branding. Can I, use some of your articles and I'll credit them back to you? And he was like, yeah, sure, man, that sounds great. And I did an article. I wrote an article myself. He used it. And then he never posted another article on his site again. His site is sitting there rotten. Now, I get it. I think I realized what he did. He created that site. He put 7 or 8 articles up because E3 is right around the corner. And he wanted that, he wanted that prestige to, walk into E3, which is a video game, basically Comic-Con for video games. And he wanted to be able to say, hey, I'm impressed. Look, let me in. And that was cool. But what about after that?
Yeah.
So if you're gonna do a site, please just do it right. If you want advice, reach out. I'm willing to talk to you, help you, give you advice. Hell, I might even write a story or two for you. But don't start creating divisions. There's no need for that unless you're creating divisions because you plan on gatekeeping. Yeah. Remember, and I hate to say this, but again, you look at IndieVote.com. I've ran 2 last call articles on there. Those are slow news days. So I figured I will just run this. I know Luke probably wants to chop my head off, but on IndieVote, I didn't even run the Terraform release because I felt it was bad. I felt it would be bad taste for me to run it.
Well, I mean, I was a little upset.
Yeah, but I felt it would be in bad. I'm like, oh man, people will say you're running this because you're part of it.
Yeah.
And so, but it just goes to show you the amount of BS now that certain individuals are full of.
Mm-hmm. Well, here's the thing. You're talking about division, Varian, and here's the deal with the division. Some people think the only way for themselves to succeed is. Some people think the only way for themselves to succeed is they have to tear down other people. You see, and they're looking at everybody like they're in competition with one another. And the truth is, I'm not in competition with you or Rob or anybody else that might be listening or might be in the indie comics industry. I would like to call it a community, but it certainly doesn't act like one. But I'm not in competition with anybody else but myself. I'm competing against the guy yesterday that I was today. That's what I'm doing. And so if we could start thinking about that we're really trying to improve ourselves and that we're in competition with ourselves and there's money out there. People are going to buy a book if it's a good book and it's well written, and it's well drawn, it's well put together. It doesn't matter. You do not have to fail, Varian, as a creator for me to succeed. That's the thing. Your success does not matter with my success. But if we can both help each other succeed, then that for me that's a positive thing. But you're not seeing a lot of that right now.
I'll tell you this. Speaking of, you said something, you're competing with yourself.
Mic drop.
Your mic's out.
Oh, is it out?
You're good.
You're back.
You talked about competing with yourself. I'll compete with myself yesterday, but not last week. Last week I could walk. This week I'm not walking. So that last week that was a bad motherfucker. This one is he can't do anything. But yeah, I get what you're saying. I mean, all jokes aside, I don't feel there's competition. I don't feel the need to compete with anybody. I think your win is my win.
Exactly.
Right.
And I feel that way about comics. Hey, this dude is selling comics the same thing that I do. Man, I really wish I could do what he did. Let me research and find out what he's doing. so that I can emulate that.
I'm gonna step on your toes. We're gonna end out the chat room right now. I want to thank everyone on Indie Volt Radio for listening in, and I want to finish up with it. After this, we're not gonna read any more comments. Okay? So Ralph Griffin did that with Dead World 2, inspired by Romero's Night of the Living Dead. Write that famous 14 of the Oz books is awesome. So many incredible characters. The larger you make a thing, the more eyes come to see it. This is all from Ralph. The more opinions, both positive and negative. And in this environment today, there are more and more soapboxes out there. Don't get Randy started. He'll get right on that soapbox, right on top of it.
I got a good one right next to me.
Yep, and Ralph continues to say, instead of helping or collaborating, some just like to criticize, bash, or tear down. Be it ego-driven, it's just combative. And exactly what we're seeing. And Rebel Gaming says, LOL, everyone is trying to be an E-star, be it comics, gaming, Instagram models, YouTubing, etc. And I hate to tell all these people not everyone can be. There are only so many spots. And that's it for our comment section. Thank you for commenting today. We're going to just end this out with us discussing what's going on in comics right now. So go ahead, continue, Varian. I just wanted to close the comments.
Oh, no, I was just saying that, the competition, like the big, like, I remember someone saying that Marvel has to be happy when DC's films fail. And I think Kevin Feige, and I could be wrong, but I believe he put out a statement that he never said DC by name, but he said, I need all comic book films to do very well in the box office. I don't want any of them to fail. I want them to all do good because, one, it pushes us to make better films or to keep, striving. Also, if you're making bad films, that means that the industry or that part of the industry took a hit. So if you're making crap comics and you're releasing them to the public, you just sold somebody crap that now they're going to be less likely to buy my book that I put a lot of work into.
You mean
and
like,
so that,
like Karen Dixon, who mailed out the books wrong, and now we are afraid that we could lose people in the comics circuit because they're afraid of that.
Well, that aside, there are others. There's not just some people who start Kickstarter and Indiegogo campaigns and don't fulfill, those type of people. People who make several thousands of dollars on Kickstarter or Indiegogo and just neglect their fan base. Those type of people, we get mad at, and I get mad at but I think that's a point where you start transcending. Hey, I just want to take care of this industry because it's taking care of me and it's put food on my table, clothes on my back, paid a couple of house notes. Please don't wreck it for the next generations, please.
And it's funny because you get these egotistical assholes who come in and they want to make it all about them without ever really thinking about what they're doing. Even while they're helping people, they're knocking them down and talking about how they should be happy that this person's come over and decided to help them. We don't need any of that shit, man. We really don't. Comics works best when we're all vibing together. Even when DC and Marvel are working together and doing crossovers, there's excitement in the air. We need more of that. We need to start crossing over, even if it's just to make sure that we're supporting the idea of comic books. And we got to get rid of that bad sector, the ones that are here to make screen stories comics, or that think storyboards are the same thing as comic books. We need to get rid of them, and we need to get back to the people who love creating comics because it's comic books. And that's just what, and you're going to see it. This pandemic has sent a lot of people packing. There are a lot of people not creating comics anymore. Oh shit, it got hard. I'm gone. We'll see them back in 2 or 3 years when there's a recovery. But for now, it's going to be the Wild West again, pioneer thing. We don't know when cons come back. Who knows if they're even going to be the same anymore? Yeah. There's going to be a year where there wasn't, like, everything's been on pause entertainment-wise. 1 year from now, Lord knows what's going to be popular now. Because people have actually gone back and watched older shit. People are being offended by these older comedies that they're forced to watch on Netflix, but I guarantee you there's a lot of them who think it's funny. There are a lot of people like, oh shit, that is crazy. They could say that shit? I want to say that shit. A lot of people out there just want to make jokes and actually laugh. This year has sucked But one thing we need is a sense of humor, and everyone's getting twisted about it. Here, I have a message for everyone. And Varian, I'm sorry, close your eyes. This one is going to get you a letter. Hey, kids, it's just a joke, not a dick. Don't take it so hard. That is my official stance. Go watch George Carlin. Go get a fucking sense of humor. You're going to benefit from it. Stop taking everything so goddamn serious and stop trying to make everything insurmountable odds and stop trying to tear people down. I mean, what else can I say about that? Support each other, you dumb pricks. Stop trying to rip the person down. Like Randy says, it's crab bucket season out there right now, and no crab gets out alive.
No crab gets out if they keep clawing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I like Bill Hicks myself, where he says that right now, every day, you get to make a choice between fear and love.
Yeah.
And and what does this market mean to you?
Yeah.
You know, that this market kept me sane quite a few times. So, you know, it's time to show back some of that love.
You know, yeah, I got a deep love and appreciation for comics. It's something that molded my childhood. It infected me into my adulthood, and you know, I just want to see good comics being made. I want to collaborate with other people that just want to make good comics, and I don't see why it has to be so hard. I don't see why there has to be political lines drawn. I don't see why there has to be, you know, false allegations sent towards this or that. You know, what happened to the day when, you know, the old bullpens when they were making comics, it didn't matter who voted what. You know, it doesn't matter. They didn't talk. They didn't let politics and religion interfere with the work they were doing. The art took first priority, and I just kind of wish we could get back to those days, Randy.
Even though sometimes they did propaganda. I mean, when Captain America 1 come out, that was very, very cutting edge.
Yeah, but you know, it was relevant, and it spoke to the character, to the kind of the values of that character of Captain America, and it spoke to, you know, I'm okay with people putting their political view into a story as long as it's organic and it works.
As long as it's well done.
Yeah, you know, Captain America punching out a Nazi. I mean, nothing was better than that, because I mean, just prior to that, Hitler was on the cover. Yeah, Hitler was on the cover of Time magazine. He was Time magazine's Man of the Year, and then Captain America was punching his butt out in the next month, and to make that statement that, look, mainstream media says this, but look, you guys don't, like, here's really what's going on with this guy, and that has always, that kind of element has always been in comics, I think, a little bit, but it's never been like it is today, where people let that interfere with the storytelling. It's just sad for me.
Yeah. Especially the poorly done stuff, because I
did want to say that
other stuff. Go ahead.
I was gonna say that you know, when you have those characters who Captain America is, you know, he's fighting for an entire country. Now you have a country that's been divided. And even when it's funny because you get down within that and you find divisions within the divisions, and it gets really bad. And it's like, I mean, it's like a house divided. It really, there's no better metaphor for it. You don't.
Yeah.
I mean, there are business partners right now who don't like each other.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Keno Subway says he's at Luke's going to be on his morning show.
Yeah. Can't wait.
No,
awesome. But yeah, Rob, I don't want to take over your show, but I know you're approaching your 2-hour mark, so
you're the boss, so like it don't matter. I mean, I've always, for those who don't realize, Varian is in all regards my boss when it comes to me being on Indie Vault and all that. And a lot of people don't realize we talk a lot behind the scenes. We understand, and I always ask about the lines, what not to cross. Even some jokes, I'll message him in the middle of the show and go, "Is this too far?" And I get a thumbs down a lot more than you'd realize. So Varian does try his hardest, but the fact that we could literally, and you know, I said I wouldn't show it, but I'm going to show it anyway, just 'cause it's true. The fact that, and I'm apparently being known for upsetting people with signs. So this is our thing, Comicsgate Ally. I have not been explained why that's a bad thing to support people. And Luke, you could talk about this for a minute. Luke came out just recently about being Comicsgate.
I came out.
He came out. So I had to put this up so everyone could show me on the doll. Where did this sign hurt you? Because that became a thing this week. Yeah, 2020. We're hurt by a fucking sign.
Well, I do want to clear something up. Now that wasn't something that you had talked to me about.
No, that was just me doing a joke because the question on the screen was literally about Comicsgate. So just as a joke, I put that up when I came in. Varian didn't even know, and I wouldn't even have thought, to be honest with you, it wouldn't have crossed my mind. Hey, can I say something positive? Is that okay, Varian? Usually that's not what I have to ask.
Well, and the thing was, the question on the screen was, why don't we condemn them? Condemn any form of grouping comics, but Comicsgate was what they wanted us to condemn. And I said, because I don't want to condemn anybody. I don't want to condemn anybody because of, they're making comics, as long as they're not, talking about
mic drop
things to children.
Yeah,
Gotta drop again?
You're good. You're good. Keep going.
As long as they're not talking about doing horrible things to children and pushing racist and bigoted propaganda, as long as they're not doing that in that book, let's see it. Let's see the book. And there have been people on the show who are Comicsgate, and they've never come out and said anything that I felt was disrespectful on the show.
Well,
so we push books, and the thing was, we were saying we take everybody's book, and like you said, I don't care if you are part of the Whisper Network. They got out in the Bleeding Fool article. If you are part of that, but you got a book and you want to come on the show, okay, call us, let us know. We will have you on the show. Get in touch with me.
I think since I haven't really talked about it much on with this group, like publicly. I have talked about it publicly with a lot of my Twitter followers and kind of that group over there. But this big question keeps coming out. Well, Luke, why did you go Comicsgate? Why did you come out Comicsgate? The stuff that you hear about Comicsgate being a hate group and that they're all that is all a lie. I'm gonna tell you from the bottom of my heart, I can tell you that's a lie. Most people that know me know my values, they know my character, they know what I stand for, they know who I am, they know who I am for. I'm for a whole lot more stuff than what I'm against, and that's for dang sure. And I think anyone here on this panel can testify to that, and probably many people listening right now. And I have been Comicsgate adjacent for a long time. I've worked with a lot of people in Comicsgate. I've been near kind of who they are and what they are. In every group, you're going to have those loud mouths, and you're going to have those people that are bad players, and you're going to have those people that exploit every opportunity to become internet stars. They're people to do that. But there is a quiet majority of people that are professional. They're kind. Most of them left of center leaning politically. Diverse, people of color, women, transgender, you name it. It is a very huge group of people. And it got to the point to where I was like, I see how the people that are in the middle, there's no loyalty. There's camaraderie, but there's always this possibility. And you can tell that everyone is looking for an opportunity to elevate themselves, even if it means messing with someone else. And I didn't see that coming from the CG camp. And so I wanted to say, look, I'm aligning with this, and hopefully that it will say more towards the group of people that I'm aligning with than me. Because people say, well, Luke, I've always known you as this. How could you be a bigot? How could you be a racist? How can you be a sexist? How can you be a hateful person? And all of you people know that I'm not any of those things. So why on earth would I ever align with something that contradicts those values? Of course, I would not do it ever, ever, ever. So I want people to see that, look, this is the kind of character the people that is in Comicsgate. But we don't all all agree. We don't all share the same views on everything. We're just a group of people that aligns under a couple of tenets that say, hey, we want to make good comics. And the other thing I wanted to do was to say, for all of these creators that I've worked with that are kind of closeted Comicsgate like I have been, that are afraid to come out because of what they might lose, I want to show that, look, what you can gain because there is a community over there. There is a network over there that's really inclusive and really kind and really accepting. And I want to say, look, what you can gain is greater than what you will lose by making that step and that leap. And so that's why I did it. And almost immediately I've been labeled by some people, and it's been very hard for other people to wrap their head around that how can Luke be a CG guy? And I hope that it gives people a chance to take pause and to look that it is full of good people. It is full of good people. There are a few loud people on Twitter. You are looking in the wrong spot. You are looking in the wrong place. You need to look at the people that are making some comics, and it's more than just the 5 or 6, maybe even a dozen or 2 people that are really loud on those social media platforms. It is hundreds and hundreds of people deep that are just like me, and actually, to be honest, just kind of like the other people on this panel too. I mean, they're
I'm not Comicsgate.
You're not Comicsgate. I'm not saying none of you guys are Comicsgate. I'm saying I'm the only one here that's openly Comicsgate. But I'm saying all of the good people that I've had a chance to work with and I choose to align with, there's hundreds of people like that in that camp as well. And so
I'm gonna have to step on your toes. We do have to get under the 2-hour mark because of YouTube, so we are gonna have to leave. I am a little offended that everyone would think I would go to Comicsgate already, because I just realized that they're insulting me, because that's what they think about me, apparently. So now I definitely have to change what everyone thinks about Comicsgate, so people stop comparing me to that. Thank you for being on, Luke. Tell them where they can find you.
Oh, you can find me on LukeStoneStudios.com. You'll find my Twitter there. You'll find my Instagram there, and my Facebook is linked in there as well, somewhere down at the bottom. And you'll also be able to sign up for my new Indiegogo campaign for the Hybrids, the Sons of God trade paperback. It is chock full of really cool stuff. And if we can hit I'm really hoping that we can hit our first stretch goal. It's going to be an $8,000 stretch goal. Then we can extend that book from 124 full color pages into 140 full color pages, packed full of action and humor and fun inside information. So check us out there at LukeStoneStudios.com.
And it's time to find out about the kid. Please talk about your comics. They're amazing. People should know you're a creator. Let them know where
I'm the co-publisher of Last Call Comics. You can check us out at lastcallcomics.com. Appreciate if you do. Also the founder of Indie Volt Media LLC. Where I just want to put out. I just want to be able to promote the best in comics. Despite I guess hearing overwhelmingly this week that that type of coverage is not wanted. Some people are pushing us out. I don't know where they want me to go, but okay. That's where you can find me. KYD_V on Twitter, lastcallcomics.com, indievolt.com, and you can find all the social medias from there.
And if anyone talks shit about Indie Volt or Varian Grant and all the great work he does, I want you to yell out on social media, "Stranger Danger," and tell us who the asshole is, so we can all avoid that crap, because there's only one person who has true diverse programming, and that is Indie Volt. Thanks to Varian, thanks to Lola, and thanks to Randy Zimmerman, who's going to be our next person leaving the show. So I'll publicly say it. Thank you for doing what no one else is doing. Well, some of us are trying to be, but and we are admiring what you have brought together. So thank you for what you do. Please don't stop because of some giant fucking assholes out there who want to be self-appointed gatekeepers that no one ever fucking wanted. Randy?
Hey, I'm Randy Zimmerman. I do a lot of stuff. So if you look around, you'll see things. Zim Geek channel on YouTube here on Indie Volt, and I'm available on Facebook and Twitter, because I don't twit very often, because that's kind of a whole nother group of hate. But I am there under Randy Zim. So hopefully see you around.
All right. I want to thank all you guys. You guys have been amazing tonight. Great conversation as always. And here it comes. Sarah gets the last message tonight because it's so important. Indie Volt is awesome. So seriously, if anyone is talking shit about Indie Volt, you have just found someone who's a shit talker. And if you don't want shit talkers in your life, please, please, please run away from them. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for the radio. And do you want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, Varian?
Oh, not tonight. Theirs is only Tuesday night so far.
Okay, well, still, we appreciate what you do.
Is there a radio number, or are you not able to see that at the moment?
I'm not near. I can't see
No
it.
problem.
Don't
No
worry
problem.
about it.
Don't get up.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. It's all good. Just
Don't
know, anybody out there in Indie Volt Radio, we deeply appreciate you listening. Everybody out there watching or listening, we deeply appreciate you all.
Thank you for showing up. We're out. We'll
Yep.
see you next week, same time. And of course, Indie Volt programming 9 p.m. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday morning, 9 a.m. And we're going to have more shows coming. And the news starts next week, every day at 11 a.m. So you're going to see a lot of characters popping up. And of course, Randy, Lola, and Varian all have the keys to get in at any time they want. So stay tuned. We're going to have breaking news every day now.
You never know what could happen and when.
Yeah, and we'll see you starting Monday on 11 a.m. The Comic Wire starts. So
Stay
we're out
safe.
here.
Stay safe and healthy, everybody.
And support each other.
And support
Don't rip
each other.
anyone down. Support each other.